Welcome to Sports Beat KC, the sports podcast of the Kansas City Star. I'm your host, Blair Kerkhoff. On today's show, Star columnists Sam Mellinger and Vahe Gregorian are here to talk about the Royals' All-Star representative, Whit Merrifield. The group gives its thumbs up on the selection. Later, Sam shares his thoughts on the prospects of sports gambling in Missouri and Kansas. It's coming to our region soon, but what form will it take? And I hope you'll stay with us until the end, because you'll hear some inspiring words from a former member of the Star staff. Today's podcast is dedicated to Adam Darby, who passed away 2 weeks ago. First, we'll hear from Royals manager Ned Yost, who informed Whit Merrifield of his All-Star selection. The audio was posted on the Royals' Twitter account.
I've been to the All-Star game 7 times. The first time I went, I always thought, geez, I could sure use those 3 days. After the first time I went, I never not wanted to go again, because it was so cool to get into a locker room with the best players in all of baseball, and for 3 days, you may hate them, you may not like them, you may like them a little bit, but for 3 days, that group becomes a team. And that was always cool, and that was always fun to me. So this year, I want you guys to help me welcome the newest All-Star and to congratulate our teammate, Whit Merrifield. Yeah.
So that was Ned Yost introducing the team's All-Star representative, Whit Merrifield, in the clubhouse on Sunday. So we are joined by Kansas City Star columnist Sam Mellinger and Vahe Gregorian. And my question to you guys is, was this the right call? Did the All-Star voters, who voted? Well, first of all, who votes for the players now? What's the process?
There's a formula. It includes peer vote and some other factors. There's a coach's vote, I believe. But it's not like it used to be, where you got your dad's keys out,
yes,
and poked out the little
pencil. Well,
what do we call those, chads? Hanging chads?
Hanging chads.
I don't want to bring up a
mine
political
was the
thing
pencil
here,
that we would get with the scorecard.
Yeah,
there you go.
Yeah.
Well,
you
there
kept
you
those
go.
pencils.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
the pencils and the scorecard.
And as many scorecards as you wanted at one point.
Yep.
Or not scorecards, but I mean the ballots. They'd pass them down the aisle.
Well,
you'd get 30
right.
of them if you wanted them.
And then
right.
You'd put them in the box on the way out, or the usher would come by and take them. And who knows what the usher did with them? I mean, did you assume that? So anyway, was Whit the right? If the Royals were going to get one representative, was this the right guy?
Dozier's the other one, right? That you'd be thinking about, and Dozier's offensive numbers are better. He missed. What'd that end up being? 2.5 weeks?
Yeah, and he's played
like that.
61 games he's played in, I think. So
yeah, so he's missed about 20 games, a little bit more than 20, or hasn't played, we should say, in a little bit more than 20 games. He'd be the one you could argue for, but with Bregman and Matt Chapman was the other third baseman that was announced. It's those are two great players. Whit Merrifield deserves it. There's no if Dozier got it, he would have deserved it, but. Merrifield, I think, we've talked about this before here. He's at a point now where he has established an all-star caliber baseline. He's not having the best start of his career. It's a really good season that he's having, but this isn't an outlier, and this is a worthy all-star selection. Even if you take out work ethic, example, positional versatility, all these other things. I mean, he's earned it. It's hard to argue against that choice.
One of the things I find myself thinking about with Whit, and look, he's a great presence in the clubhouse, great to talk to, right? A really interesting guy. But we've all talked about this before, how he completely operates with the chip on his shoulder as his driving force, and I don't know how he's going to go on after this. I mean, he's got this
starting.
He's not starting. That's right. Ooh. But it's kind of interesting. I thought about that in the spring, where this season has been the first time it's been about proving people right instead of proving people wrong, and he certainly has been.
That's well put.
It's true, I think.
You went to his hometown in North Carolina and his college at University of South Carolina, Vahe, and wrote a really nice story. His hometown of and I'm going to take a lot of pride in pronouncing it right.
I know you're going to.
Advance.
Yes.
North Carolina. Not Advance. Advance. You spent time with his parents.
Yeah.
And the whole story was about perseverance, wasn't it?
It really was, and it's kind of funny. I mean, we're joking now about how he might have to gin that up a little bit, but certainly there were a lot of crossroads in his career where it was like, even his dad was like, not wanting to play him on his own team because he was so undersized and bunted a lot more than he wanted to for a long time, including with Ray Tanner at South Carolina. At one point, Whit had to tell him, I can do more than bunt, but always kind of being the guy who moved around, but the guy who was fundamentally sound from the start and always kind of bold and always had a little belief in himself. And that was kind of required, right? And the sort of maybe the best part of the story, or the real flashpoint of the story, is how we felt in 2015 when he was so upset he didn't get called up during the middle of all that he didn't even watch the postseason. Maybe he wishes he could walk that part back a little bit, but it's part of illustrating how down on this he was. And he had to have a long talk with his father about whether he wanted to go on in baseball. Kind of a fascinating parallel. This is a little bit ancient history, but it's kind of interesting. I mean, his dad got called up to the major leagues some years before and was in the lineup for a game.
For the Pirates.
For Pirates. And the game was rained out, and they decided to send him out before he even ever made a major league appearance. So there's kind of something really sweet in all this for the Merrifield family too, right? And I think his dad has long appreciated the opportunity Whit got that he didn't, but not as something to be obviously jealous of, but something that he sort of feels fulfilled by.
I never know with All-Stars whether you reward the first half of a season or there's some element of career achievement, but I think in Whit Merrifield's case, there's a little bit of both here. I don't think he's leading baseball in hits. He's second, I think, going into today's game. Today's Monday, July 1st. I think he was second in baseball in hits and was hitting right around 300. His stolen bases are down after leading the American League in the previous 2 years in stolen bases. All of baseball last year with 45. His stolen base numbers are down. But he was terrific last season. Was the third player since World War II to lead baseball in hits and stolen bases. So I certainly agree with the idea that he is the best representative for the Royals at the All-Star game. And I'm really happy for the guy. Just talk about a great clubhouse person, good guy to have. And I think about this as well. And Sam, you covered a lot of bad Royals teams when you started covering baseball. Always felt bad for guys like Mike Sweeney, Joe Randa, David DeJesus, the best players on those bad teams. I really want a postseason at some point for Whit Merrifield, so yep. I don't have to remember him the way that I remember those guys.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, he's good enough to be, It's funny you bring those guys. Like Mike Sweeney was the best right-handed hitter. Well, him or Manny Ramirez, the best right-handed hitter in the American League for a time, and David DeJesus, that was a weird career because like DeJesus, I felt like stuck out a little bit because he was competent. He was a guy like
on a team that was so incompetent.
Yeah, it was like, well, he could hit like 8th or 9th for a good team, and he's just locked into the 3-hole for the Royals. They have had some guys like that, but like Whit, to me is even more valuable as the Royals get better, if the Royals get better, I should say. There's nothing in his demeanor that says the moment's going to be too big for him, which you've had questions about in the past for guys that have, had good years for the Royals or whatever. I mean, legitimate questions. And there's nothing like he just, the way he approaches the game, his swing. I mean, you can get as technical as you want. Like his swing, nobody's slump proof in baseball, but he's insulated pretty well with it's a solid swing. The barrel's in the zone. It's good bat speed. He's got a good approach. Like all those things. It's just sometimes you just have to wow, like this is who he is, because he was exposed in the Rule 5 draft, right? And nobody took him. So this isn't just the Royals that missed on him. If you look up the players, like you can use Baseball Reference to look up the players that have had debuted at 27 or older and had, success like this. And first of all, it's a really short list. And it's like, it's Ichiro and it's Jose Abreu and it's guys like that, there's a reason, they're not American. They could not be in the big leagues before a certain age because
Ichiro had already accumulated like 1,000 hits in Japan.
Exactly. Like, there's really not much precedent, much if at all, for what Whit Merrifield's done of a guy that came through, an American-born guy that came through college and the minor league system and took this long and has been this good.
And was he a 10th round pick? Does that sound right? I don't know the number off the top of my head, but it was certainly not first couple rounds. Right. So you combine that with the age, I mean, that probably is a unique profile. Blair, you got me thinking about this when you asked that question, though. Who knows how long till they win again, and who knows how much Whit is part of the bridge to that future as a player, or how much he could be seen as a bridge to that future as somebody to trade. Dayton has made a big point, and I think he might have talked to you about this, Sam, also recently, but I was out there to see him at the Jewish Community Center a couple of weeks ago. Whit was a very specific topic, and I think Dayton's smart enough not to say, I will never do this or never do that, but he really framed it as it would be a crazy ask what we would want for Whit now, and that more or less framed them as part of the future. And I think that's where they are. I guess it's possible he could be traded, but I think it would be really unlikely that it'll happen that way.
9th round, 2010.
9th round, okay.
I just looked it up. He profiles a little bit like there's some Ben Zobrist in there, and I don't know if like that's a thing that we would think about if Zobrist hadn't come over in that trade or whatever. But positional versatility, Zobrist debuted relatively late, and good athletes. Whit's not a switch hitter, obviously, but good athletes with sort of. Again, nobody's literally slump proof, but pretty good, solid, dependable swings. And Zobrist, I think, was 35 when in 2015 when he had that season. I mean, he was a little bit. So my point is, Whit could age a little bit better than a lot of baseball players. But one interesting thing about trading for him, because again, he seems like if I'm a contender, I really want him for a lot of the reasons. Again, that the Royals, that Ben Zobrist made sense for them. Like I think he's a really good player that would be even more valuable for a good team than he is, with a team on pace for 106 losses as we're talking right now. But it's funny, like there's not the trade market for him it's been a little bit cold. Sean Manaea is not walking through that door in an exchange for Whit Merrifield, and that's and Whit's got 4 more years of club control, something like that, at a really
3,
low
right?
price.
Yeah, it might be 4.
So that's part of the math too. But especially for a front office that values having some sort of face. They don't know how long Alex Gordon's going to be around. Sal Perez is going to be back next year, but who knows what that's going to be like. Like Whit Merrifield is sort of this generation's for the Royals, Alex or Salvi or whatever. And I do think that the Royals, as sentimental as they are, they put a premium on that, so it's just, you got to meet our price plus a little bit. Probably,
yeah.
Which, probably not going to happen.
If you had to guess, probably not going to happen.
Here. I think he's part of it. And I say that even as, look, Nicky Lopez's numbers aren't, he's struggling, like just production wise. But if you watch his at bats, in the last week, maybe spitballing, but it seems like in the last week he's making better contact. He hit a dip. He had a good first 2, 3, 4 games, something like that, and then it just seemed like
a couple weeks worth of 1 for 25-ish.
It's just like, oh man, these guys are like throwing stuff that I'm not used to. But it seems like he's getting that. He's not going to be Jose Ramirez or whatever, but he's getting that slap hitter. Line drives the opposite field, punch it through the infield. Kind of base hits. I think he can be a good player. So Whit's going to have to move around like he has already. So even as the Royals have what I think is a pretty good option at his probably Whit's most natural position, I still think he's good enough and valuable enough to keep around and plug other holes.
Okay, so then how about most likely to be traded? If Whit Merrifield is down on that list, who was up on that list?
I'll tell you this. I mean, it's not a big name, but I'd be surprised if Homer Bailey is with the team on August 1st. What
a gift of a contract he has for the Royals and whoever would acquire him.
Anybody but the Dodgers.
Right.
He's pitched he's pitched pretty well. He's been dependable. Everybody can always use pitching. Very cheap. He's not going to bring back a huge haul by any stretch, but he's the kind of guy that I think they'll trade.
How about Jorge Soler?
If the market's there, I think they should.
By saying that, you feel like you think their Well, actually, the question is that your evaluation of their evaluation? Or
sort of.
Yeah.
It's more my evaluation of where the Royals play and what they want to be is a bad fit for Jorge Soler's strengths. You put him in, a smaller ballpark, like anywhere in the AL East, basically.
Or London.
Right? Did you see Bill James tweet the other day?
Yeah.
He goes, "I've always said hitters see the ball really well in London."
Perfect.
You put him in a different ballpark where, his limitations defensively aren't as amplified as they are in right field at Kauffman, and his strengths as a hitter are amplified. With not that he needs help. A lot of his home runs are, out where that truck used to be in left field at Kauffman. But he's a guy that just would make sense to me. Like everybody can use a power bat, right? Like a guy that can get on base a little bit and hit home runs.
You're making me think of this, and maybe it's there's a no answer to it exactly. But if the Royals had their way, would they have one guy that they is the designated hitter? Or do they want to be able to do it by committee? What's more advantageous to whatever it is they seek to do? I ask this obviously because of Soler. I mean, in some senses, you think, just keep him at DH. Don't even bother with this outfield stuff.
I agree with that. But the Royals have this weird. We can all relate to this probably in some ways of our personal lives, maybe of. God, I say I'm going to be a workout guy and I'm going to eat well, and but I also want nachos. And I feel like the Royals.
Boy, do you want nachos
at 11 o'clock at night.
The Royals are very they want sort of a rotating DH. They really it's a way to get, especially if Sal Perez is playing, get him off his legs but keep his bat. They like that idea, but they keep signing guys like, trading for Jorge Soler and Brandon Moss, and there's been others through the years. It seems like they're trying to resist it. In theory, we want a rotating DH, but in practice, it's really tempting to just add a guy that you think can hit 25 home runs. We'll figure out a way to make it work, and sometimes it's difficult. Especially like Ryan O'Hearn, he's improved a lot defensively, but he may be a DH. You just don't know where other guys. So I just as open as you can keep that spot, I think, unless you have David Ortiz. But
okay, guys, very good. We will take a break here and come back. I want to ask Sam about a column he wrote on that appeared in the Sunday Kansas City Star. I thought it was really interesting. So we'll be back right after this message. Hey, it's Blair Kerkhoff, and if you're listening to this, you love Kansas City sports, whether it's the Chiefs, Royals, Sporting, Mizzou, KU, or K-State. And no one covers these teams like the Kansas City Star. If you currently subscribe to the paper or have a digital subscription, thank you for your support. And if you don't, here's a great offer. It's called Sports Pass, unlimited digital access to every sports story and video on kansascity.com. And it's just $30 for the first year. It's the best sports value in town, just 8 cents a day or $2.50 a month. You can't beat that. Subscribe now at kansascity.com/sportspass. We are back with columnists Sam Mellinger and Vahe Gregorian on SportsBeat KC. Sam, you had a column that appeared in the Sunday print editions of the Kansas City Star on a topic that I have long been interested in. Wrote a little bit about it during the Final Four this year, but it involves sports gambling in Kansas and Missouri, the prospect of sports gambling. Not going to happen in 2019, but I think we were both of the belief that it's going to happen eventually in both states. And when it does, what is it going to look like?
Yeah, I mean, that's sort of what they're figuring out right now. We have moved, this is important to point out, we have moved past the Should we do this? Is this right? Is this ethical? Like all that stuff. Now we're firmly in the how big of a piece of the pie can I get? And that's states, that's casinos,
it's teams,
and it's leagues.
Leagues and teams, right?
You know, because they want their integrity fee, which is just sorry, I have a hard time getting that out. Integrity fee, it's quite the term. Anyway, I think what it's going to look like. Look, I think there's 6, maybe even more than that, different bills in Missouri. And they're all sports gambling, but some of them are the lottery can, sell lottery tickets that would be, related to sports. Some of them are brick and mortar, but not online, because that's kind of a big fight because, the Hollywood casinos and the Harrah's and those places are trying to fight with, DraftKings and FanDuel. Mm-hmm. So you gotta have skin in the game, like bricks on the land, and there's geofencing that can keep you from betting in a different sport. So that would be really interesting in Kansas City, right? Because I live near State Line Road, and the nearest park to my house is on the other side of State Line Road. So if I'm just messing around on my phone and I'm trying to bet, how does that work? Like, am I now betting in Missouri, but then if I'm in my house in Kansas, do I have to go across the street to like cash the money? Like, I don't know, like it's a unique situation here, right? But I think what's going to end up happening, there's too much money, and it's free money. It's easy money at stake. And I get like next year, the legislative session is going to be, an election year. And a lot of times stuff doesn't get done. Right. But this is a pretty easy win. There was a poll I saw. There was 65, I think, % of Americans are in favor of legalizing it, so that you're not walking out on a limb here. This is an easy win. It's just a matter of, trying to figure out how to divide the pie. I think what's going to end up looking like is existing casinos obviously can take bets, and online. Because if you don't do online, I just don't know. Like, what are we really doing here? That's not an improvement over the current system where you can just go to Cayman Islands or whatever.
I do know that there is in some places where it is legal now, where sports betting is legal, and I forgot how many states.
15.
Is it 15 now? Mm-hmm. That's up from 15 a year ago.
Yes. Yes.
These are 15 states that have come on board in the last year. There's a thought that you'd be able to go into Arrowhead Stadium, or Kauffman Stadium, or Allen Fieldhouse, or Bramlage, or Mizzou Arena, and place a bet there.
Wrigley has talked about that, of putting kiosks, and that stadium is an ATM machine anyway.
Right.
Can you imagine with, especially that clientele, just being able to place a bet on who's going to hit the next home run or whatever.
That's
My
right.
I feel like we need to queue up the Lee Elia thing right now. About 90% of the world's working. Sorry, Cubs fans.
One thing that was interesting in that, and again, this is Missouri. I'm not trying to leave Kansas out, but this is in Missouri. I'm not even going to say it because I'm going to butcher the name. It's either Cody Hall or Cody Smith. Sorry. It's a Missouri politician has introduced a bill in which a chunk of the revenue, a chunk of the proceeds, goes to stadium renovations.
I love that idea.
Which, for us here in Kansas City, that has enormous implications. And look, like, let's not overstate the amount of that's going to pay for a new stadium. Like, that's
right. But a couple $1 million.
Yeah, you might be able to get it. It helps in. And look, this is just me projecting. But first of all, it eliminates a silly talk about Chiefs and Royals moving to the Legends, right? And going over there. And the second thing that it might do is fulfill what I think is the best possible scenario for Kansas City, which is the Royals play downtown and the Chiefs stay where they are, but they build a new modern stadium that, sort of is
with the village around it.
Yes, exactly. With development there, where it can be, and we've seen that in other, like New England is the first one that comes to my mind. Philly, is pretty similar that way. Like, that's what a lot of people are doing. So you can make money more than, they've already tried to make more money more than the 10 games, 11 if they get a home playoff game with, certain concerts and stuff like that. But still, the number is probably fewer than 20 and certainly fewer than 30 days where you're making money. But if you have a movie theater, shopping, all that stuff, now all of a sudden you're making money 365.
It's funny, Blair, one of the first conversations we had when I came here in 2013, somehow we got talking about, it's a little bit of a riff off this thing, but the lack of development around Truman Sports Complex versus the Legends.
I said that the two intersections of I-70 and 435, one is the Truman Sports Complex, the other is the Legends. And it's amazing what's happened at those two intersections.
Why is it? And maybe this is a far afield, but I've always been interested in this. Why? Obviously, it's a little more landlocked and contained right there, but there were businesses on right adjacent. What's that road coming north and south?
Were you talking just 435?
Blue Ridge Cutoff?
No, the road is Blue Ridge Cutoff.
Sure.
There were businesses there that came and went a number of times, and so I just don't get why that.
We used to go drinking with the umpires at Sanders after the Royals games. Well, fun group, by the way.
Oh, that's funny. I didn't. Missouri Bar and Grill in St. Louis had the same thing, and I never realized till then there was umpire groupies that would be hanging out.
That's awesome.
Crazy.
A lot of this is political, right?
Totally political. What the state, how the state helped the Kansas side, the Kansas project with state money, and it also helped that the government's consolidated. Wyandotte County and Kansas City, Kansas consolidated to speak with one voice and to get it done. So you had Speedway, soccer stadium, and the minor league ballpark out there.
And Nebraska Furniture Mart and
Cabela's.
all that stuff, which Nebraska Furniture Mart takes my money every month. And credit where it's due. Hope I get the Carol Marinovich.
Yeah,
is that the name?
She was the mayor that unified.
Incredibly effective leader in getting all that stuff done. And it wasn't just. It seems, and this is before my time, obviously, like when they built the stadiums, it kind of seemed like either didn't consider development at that time. This is 50 years ago, or if we build the stadiums, then stuff will build up around it. But by the time Speedway, T-Bone, certainly Children's Mercy lived strong at the time. But by the time that stuff came in, it was like, okay, we need to support this with other growth.
The other big consideration at the time was the Royals and the Chiefs were billed as regional teams, pulling fans not only from the metropolitan area, but western Kansas, eastern Missouri, Nebraska, Iowa, Arkansas, Oklahoma.
Remember those first Chiefs logos with 6 states?
Yeah, with the Indian with the tomahawk running through 6 states.
Goes back a ways.
Which is why access to the stadium and parking were the premium items then. Not you would not have thought then of building a stadium downtown. Well, that is that's a great topic that we'll tackle at another time. So, listen, guys, I really appreciate you stopping by. It was great talking to you. Hope to make this a weekly endeavor with Vahe, Gregorian, and Sam Mellinger, and we'll talk to you guys again soon.
Thanks, Blair.
Links to the stories we discussed can be found in the show notes and on kansascity.com, the True Blue app, and facebook.com/trueblue. Thanks to producers Kathy Liu and Leah Becerra for putting the show together. As I mentioned earlier, today's podcast is dedicated to Adam Darby. He was a news editor and digital content producer for the Kansas City Star and real-time national news editor for McClatchy, our parent company. Adam died on June 17th of cancer. He was 49. Adam was an excellent editor with a wonderful wit and as friendly as they come. He is missed. At a beautiful memorial service over the weekend for the husband of Sarah and the father of Annabelle, Amelia, and Zach, we heard from Adam, who recorded an inspirational message after learning he could not be cured. We're going to play that message for you. Early on, it's a bit graphic in detail as Adam describes his battle with cancer as the treatment being rougher than the cancer itself. Please hear what Adam has to say. It'll be the best 3 minutes of your day, and thank you for listening.
When I was diagnosed in June, I went straight into chemotherapy, and we had a big plan, and a whole team of doctors looking out for me, and we were looking for a cure. And the plan was to do chemotherapy and then radiation, and then surgery, and then done, and go on with life, right? Well, the chemotherapy was brutal. My feet were literally falling apart, like breaking open and cracking open and bleeding to where I couldn't really even walk. My mouth sores were so bad that I could not taste food, and I could not eat anything with spice in it. And so this cancer treatment is even rougher than the cancer itself. And, I was the model patient. The tumors were shrinking. I was, in my liver, they had shrunken down to almost nothing. The one in my colon had shrunken down. So I went into radiation. And after that was going to be kind of a model patient for surgery. Well, between October and January, in that short amount of time, cancer just blew up. But the truth is, at least to me, where I'm sitting right now, cancer is like a runaway train, and the research and the doctors and the pharmaceutical companies and everybody are like those guys with the little pump thing, following behind, trying to keep up. It's just, cancer is relentless. And if there's anything that you can do to avoid getting cancer in the first place, just please, I beg you, just do it. I would like everybody to please do everything you can for early detection of cancer, whether it be getting a colonoscopy or getting a breast exam, a mammogram, and do it as soon as possible. Hold on to your loved ones. The biggest thing that I've learned out of all of this is that you can just be waylaid by something like this and you just don't know it's coming. It's like a runaway train and it just hits you. And if I could go back and do it all over again, I would just say that I would spend as much time as I possibly could with my family and with my loved ones and with my friends. And, just not waste any time, because you never know when that time, at least in this life, is going to come to an end.